Hey, what's going on, y'all? I just wanted to bring like a update video on like a real chill, kind of laid back type, hopefully potential like series of just kind of bringing you cool stories and just kind of like vlogging and diaries of what I'm seeing on my shifts as a new ER nurse. So a little backstory about me: I am brand new to nursing. I'm a registered nurse. I have been doing this a total of all of 3 weeks so far. I graduated school back in 2019, and it is now, obviously 2023. Basically, had to re-put myself through school, for myself because I had forgotten everything. I tried taking the NCLEX in 2020. I did not pass it. I had a lot of family stuff going down with my dad, and it's COVID, and just there was a lot of things. Just life happens. But you go through and you grow and you change and you realize what's important in your life. And I realized I wanted to be a nurse and put this degree to some use. I'm like, I passed nursing school. That's the hardest freaking part, right? So the test is just kind of like that last push, kind of sliding into home base. But yeah, so basically just put myself through the schooling again. Myself, how I learn. I'm a big audio learner, so I just would put on headphones and just take my walks. And when even be mowing the lawn, I'd be listening to my audio and making notes and just finding out things that work for me. Doing a lot of like test prep with UWorld. That helped an incredible amount. Just building up my stamina on questions, so like simulating real life scenario when you're actually in the NCLEX, which is super important to build that test stamina, so you're not like question 75 or 80. If it's not shut off, you're like going crazy in your brain. But yeah, I got it. Then I went to a on the site or like a job fair, and I was so fortunate enough the next day I went in and I had no expectations. I just wanted to drop my resume in and just kind of meet some faces and just kind of get some exposure and meet how the community is going to be. And man, the next day I got a position offering for in the ER at our hospital. So it was like a dream come true. It had been from like passing the NCLEX to like this experience within like 4 weeks, like maybe not even that much. It was absolutely like something from like, I felt like a fairy tale almost in a way. It was an incredible. So I just started back on middle of January, and I went in with like no expectations at all. I didn't want to like build it up or build it down or going in with any sort of like preconceived notions, because I didn't want to have like any sort of like bad or good outlook on it even before I even knew what this job was going to be like. Let me tell you, it is unbelievable. It is so awesome. So for anyone who is in school or who has not passed NCLEX or who has failed NCLEX, or who, whatever the case may be, or if you're thinking about going into the profession, do it. It is incredible. You are going to learn so much about yourself, just people. It's knowledge is power. The confidence that you just, obviously you're never super like fully confident, because you don't want to be that person where you're like you think you know it all, because you never do. You're learning every day. But like being able to like at least have some sort of confidence, knowing, hey, I am making a difference positively in someone's life every day to some degree with a team. It is insane. It is awesome when it works out. So the first 3 weeks have been great, very busy. The first week basically is just kind of like our orientation, getting all of our certifications, learning the policies and the procedures. Second week was kind of the same thing. I don't really have a set schedule quite yet. Whenever I do start working, it'll be a 1-to-1, 1P to 1A. So I like that. I'm a night owl and I like to sleep in if I can, so it works out great. And then a big thing right now is I'm kind of on more of like a 7-to-7 type shift. I'm doing about a 12 to 14 week orientation. This is my first nursing job as just period, right? Besides clinical experience in school, this is my first time. So I, again, I'm very fortunate. I'm in the ER as a first time nurse and with no experience. So I am like really, I hate to use the word overwhelmed, but overwhelmed in the most possible good way. Just learning every day is just a new experience with everything. So I do that. In the second week, we basically just kind of did the same thing: certifications, PALS, ACLS, getting my BLS reinstated, learning about all the stroke policies, cardiac policies, learning how to do not basic, but like drilling into like bone for like OI access, how to put certain tubes down during codes, and just basically a lot of safety procedures and learning about all the crash carts, life-saving medications. We had a 3-day course on critical care where it was basically like a whole sepsis protocol, temperature targeting management, how to get the brain, the body down to a temperature. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, but it's a lot in the best way possible. You come home and you're like, this is going to be incredible when we first start working with all this. So since I hadn't been in a clinical setting for a long time, I followed around a tech, which, y'all, be friends with everybody in there, whether it's the techs, housekeeping, your LPNs, your paramedics, EMS, security guards, y'all, security guards. Be friends with them, your docs, obviously your other RNs, and pharmacy, like everyone. I mean, it's a whole team. So there is nothing you do really truly by yourself, especially in the ED. Like, you have your patients, but then when you're not taking care of your patients and you're not charting, you're always seeing, what can I do for this person? What can I do for that person? And then in that time, people are just coming up to you inherently asking you for stuff. So you're always doing something for someone else, for your patient, or for a fellow coworker. And that is what builds camaraderie, makes the days go by fast, and you're always staying sharp. And that's what it's all about. It's about that teamwork. And that's a very, very strong aspect I've already kind of felt. Not even kind of, I felt strongly throughout the whole days, every day, with teaching on the floor. The camaraderie is something I can't even like explain. I didn't know the thing until I've experienced it. So first 2 days were following around a tech, which, y'all, they do a lot of walking and transportation. It's wild. But a lot of IV sticks, a lot of blood draws, learning about how to properly draw cultures for like sepsis workups. And then I was out not doing any sort of like triage nursing, but observing how the triage nursing aspect of it works, and just how busy it can get, and learning, who comes first, and all that aspect. And it's really, really wild and awesome to see it in real time in a ER rather than just like on a questionnaire or a question sheet, like who would you prioritize first. It's when it's in the real world, it really does, like, it makes sense. A lot of EKGs and a lot of blood work and learning where everything is. Whenever there was a couple minutes where I had some time, we were in the stock room restocking up everything we needed to restock up, which was like super, super important. Super important because there's a lot of times when like stuff is going down and they're going to need things and it might not be right there, so you're going to have to go run to the supply room, and you want to know where everything is. And depending how big your facility is and where you're at, like our facility where I'm at, it's pretty huge. Like it's like a small little city in our supply room. So it's important to know where everything is. So that's really, really good to do if you're starting out in the ED. At any position, know where your stuff's at. That's crucial. Stock your carts, know where your carts are at, know where all your tubing, all your lines are at, or know where all your carts are at for EKG machines and the whole process of that. Y'all get some good shoes. Don't be a nurse or anyone who doesn't have good shoes. Even everyone does a lot of walking. Like right now, I am rocking these bad boys, and yeah, they look baller, right? Because they are a baller. So I do a lot of walking. I put in probably 20,000 steps a day. I count it on my cell phone. 18 to 20,000 steps a day on a 12-hour shift in the ED. Y'all, that's a lot, and you don't really get a whole extreme amount of time for lunch. I mean, or for a break. So another thing is make sure you pack your food, or at least you know what you're going to be doing. We should be taking 30 minutes a day, to do our lunches. So 30 minutes. You never know when that's really going to happen. So right. So I mean, I always like to keep like energy bars, quick snacks like nuts, macadamia nuts, things that are like really high in calorie. Just for me personally, because I got a really fast metabolism and I do a lot of walking. and sometimes I might not be able to sit down and eat a lunch or a dinner. And when I go home, I'm so tired, I just kind of go night night. I don't feel like having a huge dinner or something. So snacking will be your friend. Yeah, just little things like that you don't really think about until you start actually working, because you don't want to be like a danger to your patients by you being hungry and malnourished and like dehydrated. So you start, not being 100% mentally and cognitively, because that's not a good thing, because you'll definitely feel it. You don't want to like keep pushing past that, because at that point you're not doing anything but any potential harm. So yeah, it's the first 2 days we're with the tech. A lot of learning. We had a lot of manpower calls, so calls with people who were unruly. In our department, we have like a little area in the department where we kind of hold people who come in who are not quite, right mentally, or they're altered. So when they need to be held or contained, they had a lot of calls for that. It's important. Again, I have back being friends with your security guard to keep your safety, keep the protocols, and that's been wild. I didn't really realize how big of a part that was, how much manpower kind of calls you will get as an ED, especially being like a male, how much they'll like want to call you in. Trying to think, there's been so much stuff. The third day I followed around a paramedic who, again, everyone is amazing. The paramedic, we were getting into things all day. We were pulling people off the life flights, the flight choppers, bringing them in, helping out with the nurse with them, getting them hooked up to the machines, hearing report from the actual flight medics, the flight nurses, starting to start the medications, starting with the lines and the IVs. It was absolutely wild. I mean, it's insane, because it's one thing to do it under like a very calm situation, but then it's another thing when like everyone's there and it's a fast pace and it's like boom, boom, boom. But that's the part we love, right? That's the part like probably why a lot of us want to get into nursing and like the emergency type of nursing. So the fourth day, these last couple days, I was actually, yesterday was the first day I actually followed around an RN. And y'all, holy crap, it is insane. I got there at 7, or 6, really 6:45. You gotta love that Vince Lombardi time, get there a little early, kind of get your reins. We came in at 7 o'clock with the code coming in, and that code ran for 2 hours. I got to do compressions. We had the life-saving medications in my pocket when we were transferring up to ICU. Thank God I did, because right when we dropped him off, he went down again. We just gave him the epi. I got to do the compressions again, and then we found a heartbeat, which was like actually doing it for the first time and knowing it was successful. And then seeing the team and everyone ventilating and calling reports and just being a part of it, it's wild. It's humbling. It truly, really is. Like when you get out of the hospital and you start seeing other things around, you're like, man, thank you, Jesus, or thank you, whoever, for like just being able to do this and give back. And then immediately after that, we had a fella come in who had like totally just, I don't know, he did some kind of just work on his leg, and there was blood everywhere. It was crazy. So we were there helping out with suturing that up with the doctors for like, wasn't there, like I was following my nurse around, but they were in there for like 2 or 3 hours doing this. It was like that severe. And then we had a nice patient come in on one of the other bays, and her blood pressure was up in the 200s. And at one point, the person I was around, she had to go do her thing for a second, and I got to, push the medications that she needed, give total transpondence with the doctors, and hang her medications, being there educating her and, the family on what the situation was, what I'm doing it, why I'm doing it, keeping the parameters, and y'all, like, this stuff worked. Like, she felt better within like 5 minutes, because she had been feeling bad for like a couple hours, and we just really couldn't figure it out. And once we kind of figured out the right combination, she just looked at me and she just said like, thank you. And I know it sounds really, really cliche, but y'all, that like almost broke my heart. So that was like, it like sealed it in. Like right then, I'm like, yeah, this is definitely where I want to thrive in. This is where I want to continue. But the whole day, y'all, was crazy. I mean, I could sit here for probably 20 minutes talking about just 2 scenarios I've already been in. I'm just covering things that like I've already seen a dude, he had necrotic feet. I mean, I'm talking like he had bugs in his feet and like up in his wounds, and he was going into all kind of septic shock, hypovolemic shock. I mean, you name it, it was happening. But you have to be in there sitting on it. The biggest thing I can tell you guys is have the mentality of being a sponge. Like, listen when something is around, do it. Like, just get your hands in it and do it. Like the guy who unfortunately coded on us, I was able to put in his catheter and then do the compressions, be there with the medications, and put down an OG tube. But if I wouldn't have been in there and just super ready to go and wanting to learn, that eagerness, I wouldn't have had that exposure, and I wouldn't have had that like already happening. And those are things that obviously we're probably gonna, people who are watching this, maybe who've already been ED nurses, they're like, this is just like a typical day, and it might be, but these are just things that you can never get too comfortable with, and it's always great to have like the continued education and like that mentality. So I am super hyped. I'm telling everyone I know right now, who I know from nursing school or who is in nursing school, just please keep on trucking. Y'all keep on trucking, because I've already felt it in the first 2 or 3 weeks. If someone's not on their game, or if someone's not at work, or if you're understaffed, or what, I guess everyone's technically, understaffed. If one person's down, you feel it, and I'm talking, you feel it hard. You're like, you're down 3 or 4 or 5 blood sticks, you're down 3 or 4 or 5 labs, and that just keeps compounding. And then God forbid you had 2 or 3 ambulances come in, or a code comes in, you're behind the 8 ball. And you don't want to start a shift off like that, or leave the shift off like that to the oncoming crew if potential. Sometimes things happen, obviously, life is life, but if you can, what you can't control, you want to be able to control it. And then also too, depending on how you want to handle stress, just keep yourself healthy, keep your nutrition in balance. I have the mentality where it's like, I'm kind of going to war for 3 or 4 days a week when I'm in there taking care of people. And then like today's a Monday and I'm chilling. So I'm just, hold on, I'm just gonna make sure my camera doesn't go out. I'm just kind of chilling, talking and recapping, and I'm off the next 3 or 4 days. So it's fantastic. It's a cool schedule. It's a cool lifestyle. You just got to make sure you keep yourself a priority, your health a priority, your diet, and sleep. Sleep is a non-negotiable. Like, y'all, you gotta get your freaking sleep. If you get 4 hours of sleep compared to like your 8 hours, I mean, I don't even need to say how important that is. You need your sleep. Sleep is paramount, and people who don't understand that, you need to make some different decisions on who you're with or hanging out with, if they can't understand that you need your relaxation and rest time, so you can be good for yourself, not go nuts, and be good for your patients, and still having the eagerness of wanting to learn and not being burnt out. So I just wanted to do a video just reintroducing myself, telling you this is my first 3-week experience in the ED as a brand new nurse, even coming from after not passing my NCLEX initially, and then being away from school for 2 or 3 years, and my first job landing, like, just so blessed again, landing my dream job. And yeah, so just like I said, y'all, be a sponge. I'm gonna keep making videos. I'm gonna try to keep making at least one, for starting now doing recap videos of how my week was and what I've continued to learn. And the message I just kind of want to share for this, for the following weeks, after every 3 or 4 day stint of a shift, of runs, just so I can kind of have a nice recap. So, and I'm also doing this for myself too, for like diary purposes. But if y'all have any questions, please holler at me. We're learning together. Just drop me a message. So we're learning together. Maybe you guys can give me some advice. So, big thing is everyone's a team. It's not an I mindset. It is a we and a team mindset. Not one person saves a life. It's a whole team that saves a life, and that makes the job that much easier. Don't make enemies, y'all. Everyone is dealing with something. If they're having a bad day, they're having a bad day. If you so happen to be on the other end, it's okay. It's life. It happens. Sometimes you're probably, or I'm not, or whoever else watches is probably not the nicest person either. Life is life. But at the end of the day, we all probably, hopefully, we're all in there loving to be around each other, and it's, we love the job and what we're doing. So, and that can only work with good teamwork and just mutual respect, and that, that willingness to just be really close as a whole entire unit. But thank you very much again for watching. Y'all be safe. Take it easy. And I'm going to continue to enjoy this beautiful day we're having. First day in a long time. It's not like ridiculously weirdly cold or humid or raining in Florida. All right. Y'all be safe. Again, deuces.